Good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here on a cold Saturday morning. If you weren't here at the very beginning, Beth Ash noted if we have to be anywhere on a cold Saturday morning, at least we're here together virtually. I want to take a moment to welcome you to the Educators for Impact Winter Virtual Conference. My name is Tracy Huziak-Clark. I am the Interim Director of the School of Inclusive Teacher Education at Bowling Green State University. I was asked to share a little bit about what's going on at BG with our teacher educators this year. So I'm excited to note that we have 327 student teachers out in the field. They missed a few days this last week because of weather, but they are certainly engaged and working with students in Northwest Ohio in more than 40 different school districts around the area. So that's very exciting for us. We are one of the first universities in the state to use an adapted version of the OTES 2.0 rubric. We're hearing from our cooperating mentor teachers how much easier that is to talk to our teacher candidate about how they would be evaluated in their first couple of years of school. So we're excited about that initiative. We have more than 1,000 students completing early field experiences. So they're working as tutors, they're working with helping out small groups, and they're supporting teachers across Northwest Ohio. So we're very excited about how we are helping in Northwest Ohio. And if you have any interest in working with one of our students in the future, please let us know at BGSU. So it is my pleasure to introduce the Dean of the College of Education and Human Development, Dawn Chanu.
Thanks, Tracy. Good morning, everybody. Nice to see all of you, even in little squares. I first want to just do a huge shout out and note of appreciation to Beth Ash and Tracy Huziak-Clark and all of the rest of the Project Impact team. This was a federal grant that we had, and grants are always good. And I think this one has been particularly helpful in really moving our educator preparation programs forward in important ways. And probably one of the most significant impacts that Impact has had was to strengthen the partnership with teachers and educational leaders in our region. We are in the process now of interviewing new faculty, and yesterday, I guess it was Thursday, I had a candidate ask, like, what do I think is the best part, the strongest part of our educator preparation program? And my response was all of you. The relationships that we have with our school partners, and in particular, the support that we have of good teachers who want to continue to learn and grow, who show up on a Saturday morning to continue to learn and grow. That's a powerful part of how we prepare the next generation of teachers. And while teachers, I think, are actually more important than ever, I also recognize that the role has in many ways become more challenging than ever before. And so we are grateful not only for the difference that you make in the lives of your students every day, but for the impact that you have on our program, either by working with our students directly or by being engaged in conversations with us, from giving us an opportunity to learn from and with you, because I think that helps all of us be better. And our goal is always to prepare the colleagues that will nourish and support and challenge sometimes the work that you have ahead of you. So thank you for being here this morning. Maybe more importantly, thanks for the role that you play in Ohio's education system and in making a difference in the lives of your students each and every day. We're grateful to you. Thanks.
Thanks, Dawn. It is my pleasure to be able to introduce our keynote address speaker this morning. Dr. Katie Peters is an educator, author, adjunct instructor at the University of Findlay, and director of communications at Washington Local Schools in Toledo, Ohio. She has 22 years of experience teaching, and she has a doctorate in empathy education. Katie designs and presents workshops nationally, focusing on the importance of implementation of empathy as the most important framework for how we all do our work. She was named the 2003 Ohio District 2 Teacher of the Year. And we are very excited to hear Katie's message today on staying positive, laughing out loud, and most importantly, showing profound empathy in all we do. Perfect message for this morning. Thank you, Katie, for being here with us today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate the time. I know that time is educators' most valuable resource. So I'm really grateful to be taking a little bit of it from you today. But I also want to make sure that you know right from the start that I am going to have you walking away with 3 tangible things that you can start doing, that you can implement immediately, whether you are a pre-service teacher or you've been in the field for a long time, because nothing worse than sitting through a professional development or a keynote and walking away thinking, that was great, I'm not really sure what to do with it. So I wanted to be sure you had something that you would be able to actually say, I learned this and I can implement this immediately. I'm going to go ahead and try to share my screen. Let's see how successful I can be. Let's see. Are we all able to see? Everybody good? Okay, perfect. So first of all, quick plug to Tracy for talking about student teachers. One of my life's best experiences. If you have the opportunity to have a student teacher, I highly recommend it. There's just never a moment where I felt like I wasn't helping shape the future of education. And I have had 11 student teachers. Some were stronger than others. And in all cases, I felt like I had this tremendous honor of helping them become the educator they eventually wanted to be on their own. So big plug for student teachers if you have the opportunity. Totally worth it. Yes, it's a little bit more work, but it's also for kids and it's awesome. So I just wanted to plug that. I have now been in education 23 years. And these are just some quick snapshots over the years. I started in an urban district. I have worked in suburban districts. I did a dabble in a rural district for a brief time when I first started. And I can tell you that kids are kids wherever you go. I happen to teach high school, but what I'm about to talk about today really applies K all the way up through 12 education. And hot take, there are 2 things I learned in my very first few years of teaching that still, I believe, are true today. They can seem to be insurmountable challenges, but they really, really aren't. And the first one is harsh reality as you are in the classroom trying to help mold the future generation and do the best work that you can do in one of the hardest careers that there is, in my opinion. You are going to encounter some educators who don't like kids. And it's mind-blowing to me. I always think I would never go to med school and become a doctor if I had an aversion to blood, right? That's not something that's going to work for my professional career. But you are going to encounter adults, educators, who just genuinely don't enjoy children. And I'm constantly befuddled by it. I don't know. The easy answer is, well, summer's off and holidays and weekends free. But you have to have a passion for this craft. And it's a little bit defeating when you are working really, really hard in the classroom and you see kids coming in defeated because they have encountered other educators who aren't as happy to be there as you are. And the second thing is that a lot of educators today simply don't know how to practice empathy in the classroom. They don't know what that looks like. And I'm going to talk a little bit about why that is. First of all, if you look at your screen in front of you, you are going to see some professions, and every one of those professions on the screen has required empathy training in order to receive their certification. And this is all the way through from counselors all the way down to pastors. There are actual classes, coursework, where they learn tangible things that they can do in these careers that will demonstrate empathy, make their jobs easier, and help their vulnerable population that they are working with succeed at a higher rate. You might notice a glaring omission on the list, which would be educators. There simply are not empathy training requirements in place. And this is not the fault of universities. Part of my dissertation work was investigating why this is. And what I've discovered is that it's the state departments of education piling on these requirements, these continuous requirements, in order to be certified as teachers, as educators. And as a result, there isn't enough wiggle room in order to incorporate this really important factor. So just to show you an example, all of the professions from social work to medicine, counseling, pastorship, psychology have these governing bodies where they have defined what empathy is and moved forward with suggestions as, okay, in the field of social work, here's how you should be doing empathy every day in your work. And the CAAP, the Council for Accreditation of Educator Preparation, which is kind of like the governing body for teachers, does not even have a definition, an established unified definition for what empathy looks like in the classroom. And so we begin sort of at a default because those who are creating the rules, right, creating the rules to become teachers aren't defining it for us. And then also aren't saying, hey, let's make room for this in the curriculum. Let's give universities and colleges the autonomy to create this. Now, colleges will have coursework that deal with empathy, like multicultural diversity or some religious coursework or theology that sort of encompasses how we can be a little bit kinder in our approach to educating, but not specific tangible things. How do I work day in and day out, making sure that empathy is at the forefront of what I do? And so I tell you that, again, not to be critical, but to let you know that if you have felt defeated, if you have felt like I'm not really sure what I'm doing that's not working here, either with my kids or with my colleagues, it really isn't your fault. We aren't really given the training that we need in order to do this job. And there's no shortage of studies that say that empathy is one of the most crucial components to success in a classroom. There are hundreds, thousands of studies, I know because I've read a lot of them, about why empathy works when we are trying to work with children, right? Our brains are literally wired for it. We learn better from people we believe care about us. And yet the people who are in front of us teaching oftentimes don't know how to show that. And so there's a disconnect. If I don't believe you care about me, what you are saying, it might stick with me or it might not. But if I know that you care about me first, the words you say absorb much deeper. And that's been proven by study after study, as you can see on the board in front of you. It is a key component to student success. Now, there is a group of educators who say things like, you will hear, kids just don't care today. Kids are different today. Kids don't want to learn. That's one of my favorite, that's the battle cry of the defeated, right? I'm going to tell you right now that in 23 years of teaching, I have never, ever met a student who didn't want to perform well. They want to succeed. They want to. So that's not putting all the onus on the teacher and saying, well, then it's your fault if they're not. That's not what I'm trying to say. But to say that kids just don't want to learn and throw your hands up it's easy. That's cheap. That's not true. They do want to learn. So what is the problem? If you have a student in front of you who isn't absorbing the material or isn't behaving the way that would be conducive to others learning or to themselves learning, what is happening? And I think I kind of have sort of a puzzle piece that's missing that maybe I can shine some light on. So before I go any further, I'm going to ask you to kind of think for a moment. How long would you continue to go to your employer and do your job well if you stopped receiving your paycheck? Just think about that for a moment. You no longer are being paid. How long are you going to keep waking up, getting dressed, giving it 100%, showing up, doing your best work? No paycheck. Now, some of the more generous of you may say, well, a couple weeks, or I may try to, negotiate and see what I could do to get paid again. But there's a large faction of people who would say, well, no, I go to work because I want to be paid. If I'm not being paid, I wouldn't do the work. And that makes logical sense. But that's also why kids need a win, right? If you don't give kids a win, that's their paycheck. That win, that belief they can do it, that success, of course they stop working, right? Of course they do. Now, second thing I want you to marinate on for a moment. Think back to your first job. Your very first job, the first time you were gainfully employed and receiving a paycheck. Think of the excitement. Maybe you were 15 or 16. I'll give you my complete lack of humility and show you my first job. Hint, I'm not the boy on the left. I am the one on the right. So your first job, it's the first time you are being paid to show up, clock in, do your job, and you get that first paycheck. Now I want you to think about the first job that you ever quit. You ever quit. Now, unless you had to move or your business went out of business, you are probably like 96% of the American population, and you probably didn't quit the job, because when you applied for the job, you already knew what the job was. You wouldn't have applied unless you thought, oh, this is something I could be good at. This is something I would enjoy. This is something I think I could be successful at. You most likely quit that job because of things you could not predict. Your coworkers, right? Maybe the environment wasn't what you thought it would be in terms of your peers. The actual environment, right? Maybe the work environment, the work culture, the place didn't feel welcoming. Maybe people were not helpful. The culture that was provided in that establishment did not suit you. And people quit bosses. So if you think back to the first job that you quit, you probably quit because you didn't like your coworkers, you didn't like the environment, or your boss was not leading you in a direction to be successful. Most people quit jobs for one of those three reasons. It's almost never the job, right? If you could go to the job, have quality coworkers, a positive work environment, and a boss who fed you and developed you as a leader, you would probably stay and do that job. Now I want you to be aware that kids don't give up on school. This is what kids give up on. Kids give up on social inclusion, right? The fact that they don't feel like they have friends, friendships, people that they can talk to. Kids give up on rigid rules, rewards they can never win, right? Attendance awards. Of course, we want kids to come to school. But if I live in a home where my parents don't take me to school because the car doesn't work, or because they're not awake, or because we have addiction issues in my family, or because there's health issues, or a myriad of things I can't control, I'm never going to win the perfect attendance award. So I can't win. The game is rigged against me from the start. So I'm going to give up playing. And of course, kids give up on adults who don't believe in them. Adults who don't think that they can be successful. Now, if you are forward thinking, you can probably see there's a lot of parallels. Coworkers sound a lot like social inclusion and peers. The work environment that you quit, maybe at age 16 or 17, sounds a lot like games you can't win. And bosses who didn't feed into you and make you a better leader sounds a lot like teachers. So when we sit back and we lazily say, well, kids just don't want to learn, it gets me all fired up, because it's the same reasons you quit. It's the same reasons adults walk away from things that don't feed them. If you're in a career, a profession, a job, and one of those three things is out of alignment, we start looking for somewhere else. We stop giving 100% because we don't feel that we can be successful there. And our students are doing the same thing. So it's unfair of us to put these expectations on our kids that we don't hold for ourselves. Why wouldn't we want kids to feel like their coworkers, their peers, like them? That their environment is one that they can thrive in, and that their adults believe in them. See, we aren't teaching the right things in order to make that happen. And I'm not talking about content. You can be a fantastic teacher, but if you're not creating a classroom culture where kids can feel that they are supported and loved and celebrated and successful, they're going to give up. They're going to quit the job, because there is no paycheck. There is no paycheck for them. And I certainly would not be working for fun if I wasn't receiving a paycheck. Harvard University did a study in 2019, and I'm going to draw your attention to the bottom of the screen, because this was really eye-opening for me. It actually crushed me when I first read it. 94%, they polled 10,000 American teenagers, 10,000 teenagers, and 94% of them agreed with the statement, my parents are prouder of me if I get good grades than if I'm caring. 94%. Now, at first, I got very self-righteous. I was like, oh, parents, you're teaching all the wrong things, right? You're giving us these kids and all they care about is grades, and they don't care about being caring. They don't care about loving other people. They don't care about the culture of our classrooms that we're trying to build, right? And then I got off of my pedestal and I reflected. I have one child. He is now 20. He's in college. But if I reflect back at the days he was growing as a teenager, even as a child, think about how many times you asked your own children questions like this. Hey, how was school? Did you get your paper done? Did you read the next chapter of that novel? How are we doing on the spelling test? Have you studied? How's your science project coming? Are we ready for that next big lab in chemistry? I can think of a million times I asked those questions, right? But how many times can you remember that you asked your child at the end of a normal Tuesday, who did you make feel special today? Who did you sit with and include at lunch? Whose family is hurting that maybe we can help? Do you know anyone struggling? And what could we do as a family to help that family out? I could not think of a single conversation that I had like that with my son. Not one. Because we get so wrapped up in the day-to-day needing to check off the boxes that sometimes we forget that the message we're sending our kids is school is the most important thing. And school is certainly important, and academics and achievement are certainly important to us. But if you asked me as a parent, and I know probably every parent I know, do you care more if your kid gets good grades or if they are a nice person? They're by and large going to say, I want my kid to be kind. I want my kid to be compassionate. I want my kid to be a person other people respect. And their academic achievement comes second to that for almost everyone I know. So if I, as a parent, am saying, hey, how'd you do on your spelling test every day? And not, who did you take care of today? Of course, 94% of our kids believe that we care more about grades. That's the message that they're getting. That's the message that they're receiving. So I am absolutely at fault for part of this statistic as a parent myself. And we know mental health, if you look at mental health in America today, kids as young as kindergarten are realizing that if they don't have those emotional bonds, if they don't have those connections with adults, with people, with their peers, if they're not caring and compassionate with one another, they are going to struggle. We know that from our earliest days as cavemen, that the reason that our species survived was because they worked together, because they built community, because they understood that working together in a group gave you better odds of survival. And so we have to do a better job as educators of conveying that in our classrooms as a top priority. That does not mean we aren't teaching the content, but you teach the content through the lens of empathy and kindness and compassion. And it's really easy to do if you can remember the three things I'm going to give you right now. The first thing that we need to do as people, as individuals, forget your career, forget your educator's role, but as a person, is to remember yellow car theory. And if you're not familiar, I know that you've probably experienced it. Yellow car theory is an actual scientific phenomenon. So let's pretend that your car lease is up in the next month. And you know you're going to need a new car. So you begin subconsciously thinking, okay, I have to turn in my lease. I'm going to get another car. And you decide, I would like to purchase a car because not a lot of people drive a yellow car. They're kind of rare. It's not one of the more popular colors. I think it would be cool to drive a yellow car. So when I turn in my lease, I'm probably going to look for a yellow car. What is going to happen to you everywhere you go from the moment you decide my next car is probably going to be yellow? You're going to see them everywhere. In parking lots, on roads and highways, you're going to say, oh, there's a yellow car, there's a yellow car. You're not intentionally looking for yellow cars, but what you've done is you've planted a seed in your brain, because remember, our brains don't work in isolation. They work according to what we feed them. So if you have told your brain, hey, I'm going to be looking for a yellow car, your brain starts scanning your environment to find them. A lady at the copy machine last October told me she was looking for a purple hooded sweatshirt for her daughter's Halloween costume. Now, mind you, I'm not looking for a purple hooded sweatshirt, but everywhere I go, my brain points them out to me. And I think, oh, she should have tried Kohl's. There's one, right? Oh, there's one at Target. Found one. Scrolling on Amazon, up, purple hooded sweatshirt. Now my brain only heard someone is looking for a purple hooded sweatshirt, and it's now looking for them, even though I didn't specifically tell it to. So if that's happened to you, where things are now pointed out to you in sharp contrast, where you didn't notice them before, that's what yellow car theory is. It's sort of like, I remember when I was pregnant with my son, I couldn't believe how many baby commercials there were. I was like, there's commercials for babies and diapers and products all over the place. And it's not like they increased them because I was pregnant. It's because my brain knew I was looking, and now I'm attuned to that. So if you wake up every day and you say, gosh, I hate winter. I hate winter. It's so cold. Oh, I hate the snow. Why do I live in Ohio? It is so cold. Oh gosh, it'd be so nice to live somewhere warm. Your brain is seeking validation for what you fed it. So the minute you step outside, boom, cold air, and your brain goes, there it is. There's the cold, right? You slide on a little ice. Oh gosh, see, yep, this weather, it's terrible. Think about if you prioritized feeding your brain good things. If you wake up in the morning and you think, you know what, today's gonna be a great day. People are good. People are kind. People are going to go out of their way today to make today wonderful. You will be shocked. The things you start to notice that you've never noticed before. You will start to be attuned to things like a kid holding a door for another kid, for an adult picking up a pencil that another adult dropped. You will start to see what you have fed into your brain. I love this little graphic that I saw where brain, look at all this good. No, I'm looking at the bad, right? Because you fed your brain that in the morning, first thing. A lot of us wake up in the morning and we start scrolling on our phone right away. Well, that's fine, but on your phone is probably a lot of bad news, right? There's headlines and news clips of people behaving badly. And then you go through your day and your brain is looking for people behaving badly. So part of what we do in terms of empathic connection is simply retraining our brains to think differently. And that means you don't feed it constant complaining. You have to feed it the Oh goodness, I don't know. Maybe we got a little disconnected. Okay, we're back. So let me go ahead
We
and
got frozen, Katie. Maybe we'll suggest people turn off their videos so it doesn't happen again.
okay, where did you get frozen at? Should I just pick up?
You were on the slide with the brain is where
Perfect.
there you go. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So we were talking about the yellow car theory and just retraining your brain, right? Retraining with the poison. If you wake up every day and look at your phone and see news headlines of people behaving badly, you are teaching your brain to see those things. So we've got to do a better job of that. The second thing, everybody okay? We all good? Okay. The second thing that I suggest that you can do is to manufacture your motto. And if you look at all of these businesses on the screen in front of you, you probably recognize them, but they're very long. These mission statements are very, very lengthy. And what you can do as an individual is manufacture a 3-word motto that just sort of encompasses who you want to be each day in your classrooms, in your personal lives. Do any of you know the motto, the personal motto and mission statement for Disney? It's make people happy. And if you've ever been to Disney, it's essentially what they do. Disney is a billion dollar company because they do this so well. You stand in line at Disney World and they have things that are interactive because they realize that people don't want to stand in line. That's not a happy experience. So they go above and beyond to make the experience positive in such a way that people are happy, and they continue to pay the high ticket cost to get in there simply because they're making people happy. Nike, another great example. Nike, we probably all know their 3-word motto, right? Just do it. Just do it. Have you ever seen a Nike commercial? Steve Jobs talks about this. where they advertise their product? They don't. They never tell you about the rubber on the soles or the comfort of the arch or the way their product is made or why you should choose Nike over Under Armour or Skechers. They simply tell you, just do it. And they have you buy into a feeling, right? A feeling that you can do things, a feeling where we all can be great. Just do it. So figuring out what your motto is, what is the code, the creed by which you are going to live is crucial when you walk forward and try to do things as an educator in your classroom. And by the way, I'm going to share with you my motto a little bit later. But the final thing that I want to talk about today, and this is probably something that maybe you've seen or maybe you haven't, it's actually originated from an article by Jennifer Gonzalez. And she, in the Cult of Pedagogy, talked about walnut trees and marigolds. So if you've never heard of this before, this concept, I think it's really applicable to your real lives, not only just in the classroom in order to build those empathic connections with students, but like how you survive as a human being walking this planet. So if you were to stand in front of a walnut tree and look up at it, you would see a majestic, beautiful specimen of nature, right? It's gorgeous. They're full, they're thick, they're lush. You might not know that a walnut tree is actually poisonous. Now, the walnuts themselves are not, obviously, we consume them and they are safe, but the tree is poisonous. It emotes something into the soil that is a detriment to everything else around it. If you look at the picture in front of you, or even any walnut tree in nature, there's nothing around it, because anything planted near a walnut tree, near the base or the perimeter of a walnut tree, dies, because it poisons the soil in the radius of which it grows. Marigolds, however, are known as the protector flower. Marigolds do exactly the opposite. Their soil is dense and nutrient-packed and rich, and anything planted near a marigold grows faster, bigger, stronger, is able to endure the elements. It's more resilient. So farmers and vegetation specialists will literally plant a row of vegetables and a row of marigolds, or a row of any sort of food consumption and a row of marigolds, because they know that the soil around the marigolds is going to make their product better. So now I'm going to challenge you. Who in your circle, in your lives, are walnut trees? They may look wonderful. They may hold positions of power. They may get up, go to work, be capable people in the world. But at their core, at their base, there is a poison that spreads and permeates to others around them. And that core, that base, that poison is really just deep-rooted unhappiness. It really is just somebody who doesn't know how to heal within themselves. And when you are at work, when you are in the company of others, when you are even in your own families, it is so important to recognize a walnut tree for what it is. Because I'm going to tell you what starts to happen. When you are around somebody who looks like they have it all together, but when you leave them, you feel worse. That is that poison that happens that is very subtle. I have someone in my family who I could take to the nicest restaurant in town. I could pay for everything at the nicest steakhouse, say, I just want to spend time with you and have a wonderful meal together. And if you ran into that person the next day and you said, hey, how was your dinner with KP? They would tell you that the restaurant was cold, the hostess took too long to seat us, that the fork was too small, and that you didn't prefer the booth position that you were seated at. There would be absolutely no question that the complaining would come first. And what ends up happening is, if we aren't careful, that poison permeates into us. As an early educator in my career, there's always this joke that maybe avoid the teacher's lounge. And I don't necessarily buy into that. There's a lot of wonderful people I've worked with, and the teacher's lounge can be a place of great support. But there are people who would encounter me in my early days and say, so what are you doing in your class? And I would be so excited to talk to them about this new idea, this new initiative. And they would say things like, oh, yeah, I've tried that. Yeah, no, that didn't work. Now, they weren't outwardly hurtful. They weren't calling me names. But as I walked away, I felt less. They stole, right, a little piece of my joy. When we used to give the Ohio graduation test years ago, the OGT, if any of you who are veteran teachers, the day the test results came out, I remember rushing into this communal space. It was actually our mailroom, and saying, oh my gosh, I'm so excited to see how my kids did. They worked so hard this year, and I know that they did so great on this test. And this teacher turned around to me and said, oh, and she sort of chuckled. She said, oh, you're one of those teachers who care about that. You're one of those teachers who, yes, I care about my students' success, but I left embarrassed, right? In front of a room full of people. I was embarrassed at my enthusiasm because I was so excited to see how they had done. And that teacher, that walnut tree, couldn't stand to just let me be excited, and instead was a thief of joy. So you've got to be really careful about your exposure to walnut trees. Now, you cannot rid the world of them. That's an unrealistic expectation. You're going to encounter walnut trees who are strangers to you. The cashier at the grocery store could be a walnut tree to you. So I'm not here to say, hey, we can't have walnut trees in the world. So what do you do when you know you're going to be exposed to, or have to work beside, or live with a walnut tree for an extended period of time? And that's where our marigolds come in. Who are your marigolds? Who are the people in your circle who make you feel stronger, who make you feel empowered, who make you feel better, right? Who are those people? And I can tell you at work, for me, I know who those people are, because when I walk into a meeting, I beeline for their table. Right? You want to sit with them. You want to be around them, to absorb the nutrients and the growth and the power that they give, because they are the people who make you feel like you can do things and you have support. I had the fortune of being across the hall from a marigold for much of my career. And on a day where I just felt like, oh my goodness, this is the hardest career ever. This is the hardest day ever. That student was the most challenging student today. I could just pop over next door and say, good morning. And that big smile and the, hey, how are you? Hey, how's it going? How was your weekend? Those people are the antidote to exposure to a walnut tree. You've got to prioritize it. And it's not just at work. It also means that maybe you text a friend, or you give a call to somebody and say, hey, do you want to meet up? Or maybe we could get dinner sometime. You have to replenish with your marigolds. Because walnut trees exist, and there's nothing we can do to counteract that. I'm going to tell you a really quick story. This is a student of mine. I call him my Jay. His name was Jason. And Jay was in my freshman English class. And Jay hated English. He never wasted an opportunity to let me know that he hated everything we were doing. This is stupid. How am I supposed to know what this author means? I'm never going to use this. And we battled. Right? We battled. I battled to make him successful. He battled to let me know that nothing I was doing was working. So you can imagine my enthusiasm when 3.5 years later, he shows up on my roster again as a senior in high school. But as a senior, Jay had mellowed a lot. He was close to graduation, so he knew that I had something he wanted, which was the diploma. And he still hated English, but he would come in and begrudgingly do the work that I asked him to do. And so it comes to be the end of the year, and I'm cleaning out my classroom. It's a day where graduation is in the evening, and we didn't have students on this day. It was teacher work day. And I was in my classroom cleaning, the baseball hat on, the sweatshirt, just kind of doing the teacher work day thing. And in walks Jay. And so I was surprised to see him. Students don't usually come to school on days that they don't have to be there. And I said, what are you doing here? And he held up his cap and gown. And I remember him saying, I had to pay off all my fees and fines so I could get this. And I was like, oh, that's important. I said, I'm so excited. He said, are you going to graduation? I told him absolutely, I wouldn't miss it. And he came over, and I remember he had an envelope, and he said, hey, don't read this till I'm gone, okay? And he dropped it on my desk. And I was like, okay. So he helped me clean a bookshelf. I remember I was packing up books, and he helped me and sat for about 45 minutes, and we chatted. And then he had to get going, and he left the building. And I started packing up my things to leave, and I saw the envelope on my desk. And so I opened the envelope, and I'm going to read for you a portion. I'm actually going to share with you a portion of what it said. So the bottom of his letter said, I believe that everyone deserves another chance, no matter what they've done. Just like the quote from the Diary of Anne Frank, everyone is good at heart. If someone can truly say they're sorry and mean it, they most likely have learned their lesson and deserve another chance. In conclusion, I want to let you know that if ever in your life you regret the path that you have chosen, or you feel that you haven't made a difference in any way, you have. You've created a huge impact on my life alone and have given me so much to think about in the years to come. Not to mention how many others you have helped. You are, and you always will be, a great person. You will always hold a special place in my heart. Love, Jason Kress. And he wrote the year that we met, which was 2005 when he was a freshman. Please, and then P.S., please don't beat me up for making this one big paragraph. And as an English teacher, of course, I appreciated that. Jason passed away right after he graduated, just a few short months after his graduation. He was killed in a car accident. He was his parents' only child. I have one son. I cannot tell you how many times I have gone back and I have read this letter. I have read this letter at my desk on days where I thought, you are not doing a good job. They deserve better than you, right? You got to have somebody else come in here because they could do this job stronger. These kids deserve somebody who can motivate them, who can inspire them, who can make them want more for themselves. And you're not doing it. And when that voice appeared in my head, I would pull out this letter and I would hear him. If ever you regret the path you've chosen or feel that you're not making a difference, stop it. Stop it. Don't do that, right? You are. I had no idea the impact that Jay felt I had on his life. He wasn't one to show it. And my point in showing you this is that many of you are going to encounter people and have no idea the impact you are making because not everyone is comfortable sharing it. I am so blessed that Jason took the time, 5 minutes, to write me this note. I have used this note as fuel. This note is a marigold in itself to me, so that when I encounter walnut trees, I have an antidote, right? You might see at the bottom here by his name, there's a little pizza stain because I used to read it on my lunch hour as I was eating because I needed it sometimes. We all need it. Remember back at the beginning when I said human connections are how we survive. It's how a species continues. We can't do this job alone. We cannot do this job alone. The burdens are heavy. And I don't mean to say burdens in the way that sounds like it's not worth it. The rewards are just as big, but we also have to do the work. And if we are feeding our brains positive things, yellow car theory, right? If we are separating in our brains the walnut trees from the marigolds, we no longer feel responsible for fixing them, right? It's not your job to fix a walnut tree. They have the poison and the unhealthiness in them that they need to heal, but it's not your job to fix it. So earlier when I said manufacture your motto, and I encourage you to keep it short and brief, something that you can use as a mantra, something that gets you through those hard times. Mine is they can't win. They can't win, right? There's so many people in this world that want to convince you that what you're doing doesn't matter. And not just in the classroom, what you're doing in your life. right? Everybody wants to argue. Everyone is so quick to complain. Everyone is poised and defensive of one another these days. But that can't win. Love is louder. Love is louder. And we've got to do a better job of making sure that we are moving forward with authenticity each day in what is right and good for kids. And I'm here to tell you, it is not easy. So one of the funniest expressions I hear is two actually. First is kindness is weakness. Kindness is the hardest job you will ever do because the clap back is so much easier. It is so much easier. It is easy to want to snap back at someone, to become defensive, to let them know what your position is. It takes tremendous self-discipline to say, I know who I am. I am going to continue in good faith and integrity for what's right for kids and what's right for me and the person I want to be in this world. It takes courage because biting your tongue and saying, I am so sorry that you feel that way is hard, especially when someone is being irrational, especially when someone is being unkind, right? Unkind is cheap. Unkind is fast. Unkind is easy. Kindness takes tremendous effort. And it is the strongest people I know who are able to do that. So to insinuate that kindness is weakness, untrue. The other thing is the expression that somehow because you are attempting to be positive, that somehow you are a pervasive toxic positivity spreader. I don't think toxic positivity is real because what I believe is it's informed optimism. I know the world's not perfect. I know that kids struggle. I know I can't reach every single one to the level I want to. I'm informed about that. I still choose optimism. I still choose to be moving towards a goal that I believe every kid can succeed. That's informed optimism. That's not toxically positive, right? I know the reality, but I am not choosing to feed my brain things that are untrue because it seems true. It seems like kids don't care. That's not true. Every kid cares. Every kid wants to succeed. The problem is they don't all have the tools in place to do so. And they also are not thriving in environments where educators don't believe in them. So we've got to do a better job of that. We as a culture, not just we as a profession. The truth is the highest form of knowledge is empathy. Bill Bullard said this, and I love it because the lowest form of knowledge is opinion. And he states that in his full quote in the corner, right? It doesn't require accountability to just spout off your opinion, right? Kids don't want to be here. Kids are different these days. That's your opinion, but that's also very, very low level thinking. Empathy requires you, as he says, to suspend your ego. You have to step inside the shoes of someone and say, listen, you are struggling in my room and I want to know why. I want to figure it out. I oftentimes have said, I don't have everything in common with my students. I had a student 2 years ago who both of his parents were in prison. I don't know what that feels like, but I know loneliness. I know what it feels like to wish a family member would be different. Absolutely, we connect on that. So my empathy isn't, I have stood exactly in your shoes. My empathy is, I have stood in your feelings. That has to be so frustrating to watch someone you love continuously make bad choices that impact you. I know what that's like. I have felt that. So in that bond, let's figure out how we can move forward together, right? How we can do that. Folks, the truth is, your light is going to irritate a lot of unhealed people. Because when you decide, I'm going to live a life of kindness, I'm going to live a profession, a passion of mine that moves kids towards their highest being, you become a target for people who don't know how to do that. They are frustrated watching you do that because they don't know how. That deep-rooted unhappiness in them that festers all the time, you know, the ones who walk into a mailroom and crush someone's enthusiasm, That is their issue. And that's preventing them from being able to do what you do, to be able to see the world in a better light. And we've got to do a good job as educators of supporting one another, right? You 100% become the isolator. And I have to tell you, there is nothing a walnut tree likes better than recruitment, right? It's not enough that they're unhappy. They want to recruit other people. Did you hear what they're going to make us do? Can you believe they scheduled a meeting on a Monday? Why did she wait so long to call a snow delay? Those are people wanting you to agree, right? And once you agree, once you tacitly say, I know, they've got you recruited into the poison. So what do you do? What do you do when you encounter people who are going to consistently steal your enthusiasm? They're trying to prevent, remember when we talked about yellow car theory, you're feeding your brain good things. I got this. We're going to do this. My kids can do this, right? We can walk into today and be successful. They are continuously trying to cloud that effort of yours, and you can't let them. Because when you let them, refer back to my motto, they win. And they can't win. Because when they win, kids lose. I refuse to sit by and watch kids lose because you are unhappy, because you can't figure out why you are in the position you're in. But what I'm going to do is continue. I'm going to continue to press forward. I'm going to continue to do what is right for my students, for my life, for my passion, for my purpose. When I leave this earth, I want people to say, she inspired me to continue being and believing that love is louder, right? We have to love louder. And listen, I know it's easy, it's cheap, it's hard to be kind. But that brings me back to that initial point. We cannot believe for a moment that kindness is weakness. It's not. Keep stepping out, keep pressing forward, keep doing what is right for kids, because at the end of the day, those walnut trees are still going to be standing there, and they're still going to be recruiting, and they can recruit all they want, but I'm going to be refilling with my marigolds. And I'm also a really good recruiter. I'm also a really good team builder. And so I'm going to keep taking those marigolds and pulling them into my circle. Now, remember, it's not your job to fix the walnut tree. I have created in my career a belief that I will always invite. So I'm going to invite the walnut tree to participate. Hey, we're all going to do this fun thing for kids if you'd like to participate. But their no does not impact my desire to be successful in that initiative, right? I'm going to keep asking, and you can continue to say no, but the marigolds are going to keep going because we have to, because kids are at stake. You have the ability every single day to change a child's perception of themselves. Let me say that one more time because it's really important. You have the ability to change a child's perception of who they are. My 10th grade geometry teacher, I raised my hand, I asked a question, and she said, and I quote, "Woo, you are really bad at math." And I wore that like a badge of honor for a decade. I am really bad at math. She told me I was. She wasn't being hurtful. She wasn't trying to be cruel. She wasn't trying to make fun of me. She just said an offhanded comment to me that I suddenly believed. I am really bad at math. You know what? Turns out I'm actually not really that bad at math. She was kind of a bad teacher. But the point is, you have the ability to change a child's perception. And when I say child, that's K-12. They're all children. You can change the way a kid sees themselves. So let's do it in the right way. Let's remind them how wonderful they are, right? It is so difficult. And this job is hard enough. And we can't have adults who don't like kids changing what we're doing. If you don't like kids, frankly, I don't know what you're doing here, but I do know what you're doing to children, and it's hurting them. So I'm going to be the antidote. I'm going to be the marigold that continues to tell them they're wonderful, and they're going to be wonderful. And yes, sometimes it is difficult to find the light in a kid who is frustrating you, but we have to. You have to. This job is an honor. It's a responsibility, and it's an honor. And if we're not going to treat it that way, kids are going to lose. So I encourage you today to walk away with those three things. First of all, yellow car theory. Please make sure you are feeding your brain the right things. If you feed into this, what are they making us do? And why do we have to do this? And this doesn't make sense. That is exactly what you will see all day long in your career, in your job, in your life. You have to be intentional about what you are feeding your brain each day. And I choose to feed mine good things, right? I'm here to tell you, people are good. People are so, so good. People want to help. People want to do right. What you are seeing in the world is just a lot louder, right? We have to love louder because evil is loud enough. Evil's had the microphone for a really long time. So feed your brain the right things. Number one, that's yellow car theory. You can start that today. And I promise you, if you do that, you are going to start seeing the world differently. You are going to start seeing your world differently. The second thing, manufacture that motto. The shorter it is, the better. What is your creed? What is the thing you're going to live by? You're going to do each day to make sure that you are staying true to your purpose. Mine is they can't win, right? They can't win. Every single day when somebody irritates me, when I have to bite my tongue, when I'm like, oh my gosh, this person is really trying to get into my spirit today, I think to myself, they can't win. Don't let them win. When they win, kids lose. And finally, last but not least, identify a walnut tree for what it is. Because when you can identify it, when you can look at someone and go, oh, you're just a walnut tree, you're unhappy. It's so much easier to walk away from that and not feel responsible for what they are saying to you. That's not to say you don't accept criticism. That's not to say we're not self-reflective. But when somebody comes in specifically just to steal your joy, to take your thunder, to dim your light, they're just a walnut tree. That's who they are. Go find your marigolds, right? The marigolds are the people that you want to surround yourself with. Those are the ones who are going to make sure that we're doing right by kids. I think that's about my time today. I just want to thank you all so much for your time, for your valuable resource of your time. I pray that you are able to stay the course. Those three things have helped me tremendously. I hope that they help you. I wish you the best of luck. You are in the right profession. This job is so wonderful. Let it be wonderful. Don't let those people tell you that it's not wonderful. It is. It's hard, but both things can be true. It is hard and it is wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Katie. We really appreciate it. You probably weren't able to see the chat, but tons of thank yous and positive comments, and people were posting their mottos already. So certainly a huge impact was seen from your talk today. So we really appreciate your time.
Thank you. Thanks so much.
We appreciate you being here. I'm going to just give a few directions for next steps. So to continue to hear from more wonderful presenters, we have lots on the schedule for this morning. You can choose, if you look at the program that was sent to you, one of 7 7 different sessions. What you will do is actually leave this meeting and choose another Zoom link to go to. So go ahead and we finished, you're going to leave this meeting. You will click on for something for session 1, whichever you choose, and join that Zoom room. We will start the next session at 10:15. So I'll give you a chance to use the restroom, refresh your coffee or tea or juice or whatever you're having this morning, stretch your legs just a little bit, and know that our presenters are excited to continue conversations like this and to continue to help us build up so that we can continue to be the marigolds of the world. So thanks for that, Katie. We'll see you all at 10:15. Your next session will be at 11:15. Again, if you don't want to stay in that same room, you just leave that meeting and go to the next one. And then we'll come back here to debrief a little bit at noon. So thank you everyone for being here on this cold Saturday morning. We'll see you at 10:15 in different Zoom rooms. Thank you.